Hello, everyone. Let's see. Testing. 1, 2, 3. If you can hear me, put a quick hello in the comment box down there. Actually, it's on that side on my end. I don't know if it's on your end. But if you're joining me just now, send a quick hello. Say, hi, I'm hailing from Toronto. Okay, let's see what the time is now. It's 10:28 Eastern Standard Time in North America and Canada in Toronto. I'm just gonna wait for a few more seconds, or I should say 2 more minutes before we begin today's session. If you're just joining me, my name is Alon Eisenstein. I am with Pueblo Science. We are based in Toronto, in Canada, which is in North America. It is now 10:30 in the morning. Hello, Miguel. Hello, Gabriel. Hailing from Ajax. It's 10:29. We've got 1 minute to go for showtime. If you're watching this on Facebook Live, make sure to share it with your friends. Tell them to jump on board or check out the recorded video, which will be uploaded later on today. And you can also find us on Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram. And don't forget our website. Hello, Nathaniel. I can see you. I can't. I can just see the comments in the box down there. Okay, so let's get started. It's just coming around to 10:30. So we can start right about now. Hello, everyone. Good morning. And my name is Dr. Alon Eisenstein from Pueblo Science. Here we go. I'm wearing my Pueblo Science t-shirt and my lab coat, and I'm hailing from Toronto in Canada. It is 10:30 right now in the morning. Wherever you are, thank you for joining us for another edition of Good Morning Science, the home edition. For those of you who are new to this live streaming and have never heard of Pueblo Science before, let me just give you a 1-minute intro to Pueblo Science. We are a charity based in Toronto, and we go around the world to offer professional development training for science teachers in rural communities. We are currently focused on the Philippines, the Guyana, and Jamaica, and hopefully next year we're building some relationship with Indigenous communities in Northern Ontario. And we are excited to be offering this live streaming. We love to work with kids. We love to work with science teachers, parents, grandparents. Anybody can get their hands on science because it's just fun. Lots of activities to try out at home, wherever you are. If you like what we're doing, please like our page. I don't know where the like button is, down there or up here. Don't forget to like and follow our Facebook page, and you can also sign up for our newsletter for any new upcoming events. And if you support our work and think we're doing great work, please do consider to hit the donate button. We are a charity. We do issue tax receipts for donations, and we use that donation to reach more and more kids and teachers around the world. So that was my quick brief on Pueblo Science. Now let's see what we are doing today. Okay, why don't we start by just giving you a quick overview of what we're going to do today. So as you can see here, I have everything set up here with my mirror, so we can also see what I'm doing from the top as well. So make sure you have all the materials with you. We have some coloring markers that are going to smear in water. We have scissors, we have a plate and a bowl and some water and a dish soap and a tissue paper towel, some paper clips, coins, cards, and a pencil and a glass, a drinking glass. All the materials are posted on our poster, which you can find on our Facebook page, and you can also see on our Twitter. Both of them are at Pueblo Science, as well as our Instagram channel. For future reference, we will post them beforehand, so make sure you get all the materials before we start. And if you just happen to not have anything handy right now, you can always come back and do this on your own, rewatching the recorded video, which will be uploaded later on today. Why don't we get started with our very first activity of the day? And by the way, we have a few volunteers from Pueblo Science, including our executive director and founder, Dr. Mayor Salvador, and a group of other volunteers from Pueblo Science will be monitoring the discussion, that side, the chat box. So if you have any questions, feel free to send your message quickly and you will get a response promptly, not by me, but by our members that are really eager to see what you're up to and respond to your questions. So, first one. Let's start with something that's fun and simple. So I'm going to clear out this pile of stuff so we have a better working environment. So I'm just going to move my materials behind the laptop, and I'm not sure if this was listed as, I think this was actually written down as experiment 2, but we'll just do this first. It's nice and simple and quick and easy and still fun to try at home. So what do we need? I need a glass, a drinking glass. I'm just going to put it here so you can see it from the side and the top at the same time, right? Okay, so I've got my drinking glass and I've got a bunch of coins, right? You can see here I've got a bunch of coins. I'm using nickels. You can use quarters, you can use dollar coins, doesn't matter. You can use whatever currency you happen to have at home. That's not going to impact the activity. We also need some cards. So you can either use one of those card notes that are stiff paper. You can use plain cards. It doesn't matter as long as it's stiff. And we're going to put the card on top of the glass. And over the card, I'm just going to put one coin. Now, you can see the coin from the top, you can see it from the side. Now, what's going to happen if I tip over the card? Well, the coin's going to fall, right? If I try to slide it over, it's going to pull the coin with me. So you see how my coin is moving away with the card if I do it very slowly. However, if I will flick the card away, see what happened? The card flew, I flicked it over to the room, but the coin fell straight down to the cup. You can see it from the top view right now, right? What happened there? Let's try this again. Let's see if we can do it with more coins. I'm gonna use now, let's use 5 coins. I'm gonna stack up all these coins again together. I'm going to stack up all my coins together, right? If I pull very carefully, you see that the coins are moving with the cards. They're staying attached to the card. However, if I flick it, ready? And I'm going to flick it from the side, not from the bottom. I don't want to tip it over. I'm going to flick it straight from the edge with my nail so it flies horizontally sideways. 1, 2, 3. Oops, it didn't fly, but they did actually fall. Here, let me try again. Let's try again. It's a bit crowded here with the mirror and all that, but if you fail, you can always do it again. Ready? Now, if you're worried that you're gonna flick the glass and it's the drinking glass, and it is made of glass, of course, in my case anyway, you can always hold it with one hand firmly, and there we go. I flicked it, and all the coins went straight down into the glass. Why is it doing that? Well, here's what happens. When we have a coin over the card, there is friction between the card and the coin, and that friction keeps the coin moving with the card. So as long as I'm moving slowly, then the friction, which is a force, is actually preventing the coin. Sorry, it's not preventing, it's making sure the coin moves away with the card. However, if I flick it very abruptly, oops, I actually failed this one around. If I flick it, the motion of the card is so fast that now the card is able to move away before the friction allows the coin to move with the card. And as soon as the card moves away, the coin goes straight down. So these are behaviors that Isaac Newton was very articulate in what we know now as laws of motion, which is to say that unless we exert a force onto an object, it will not move. It will persist. So something that's moving without additional force to stop it will keep on moving. Something which is not moving, like the coin, unless we apply force on the coin should not be moving. And so if the card moves so fast to avoid the friction pulling the coin with it, then the coin actually feels no force of friction with the card slipping so fast, and therefore it physically stays put. And as soon as the card is away, gravity pulls it straight down. See? If you've ever watched a magic show before, you might have seen this with the amazing tablecloth magic trick, where you have a nice laid out dinner table with glassware and crystal and wine glasses, and there's a tablecloth, and then the magician tugs the tablecloth with one pull so fast in a specific way. There's a technique for it that pulls the tablecloth so fast that none of the dishware or cutlery feels the force of friction, and therefore the tablecloth slides away in the same way the card is pushed sideways, and everything stays put, and they just rest on the table as soon as the tablecloth is moved away. So this is a slightly safer version of the amazing tablecloth magic trick. If you practice long enough, you might get to the next level and maybe try your tablecloth experiment. I will encourage you to try it with plasticware, not glassware, but show us what you've got. If you can do this trick, let us know how it worked. Show us a snip video of you pushing that card away. And I remind you, flick that with your finger, and then the coins will fall straight to the glass. If you want to make it even more impressive, because the glass here, you see how the diameter is so large, this is not as impressive as having something that's tighter on the neck. So if you use a plastic bottle where the coin is practically the diameter of the opening of the bottle, that would be way more impressive. Unfortunately, I don't have one of those at home right now. But if you do have a plastic bottle that the neck is just wider than the diameter of the coin, you can do the same trick on the bottle, and then it will be even more impressive because the coins will literally just fall straight down into the bottleneck, which is so narrow. Cool. Okay. So that was trick number one. Experiment number one, we are talking about frictions and momentum and laws of motion and how things don't move unless you exert force onto them. Let's do another trick. So this trick requires to use a paper clip. So I have here a paper clip. Let's see if I can move the lighting away so you can see it better. Okay, you can see I have a paper clip. I actually have a bigger paper clip, and I also brought, so this wasn't in the write-up, but you can equally do this with needles, with sewing needles, right? There you go. I don't know if you can see them, they're so tiny. You might see them reflecting off the light there. Okay, and I also have another paper clip which is plastic covered, just because I don't have that many pure metal or uncovered. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take a bowl, a regular bowl of water. This time around, I'm going to try and see if you can see it. It's hard to see the side because of the bowl shape, but I'm going to pour some water into the bowl. There we go. So here's some water. I'm going to fill it all up nicely. That's good enough. Okay. Okay. Now, if I take a paper clip, the paper clip is made of metal, and so if I put it on top of the water, what will happen? Well, we know that anything that's heavier than water, and if we want to be more precise, we would say anything that has a density greater than water, it will sink in water. Only things that have a density lower than water will float. So if I carefully put it over, as we expected, it went straight to the bottom, so it did sink. However, if I take another paper clip, this one is smaller, and we did suggest that one could use tissue paper. I'll show you what we do with the tissue paper in a second. But this time I'm going to try and put it very, very gently over the top of the water and see if it works. See what's happening there? Can you see it's floating? So you can actually see it's floating. It's hard to zoom in with my laptop camera, but you can definitely see there's a shadow, right? And you can see how it's moving around. So this paper clip is still made of the same metal. It still has the same density. So both of these metals have the same density. So both of them should sink, yet one of them did in fact sink, and the smaller one is actually floating. But the flotation here is not because of the density, because by density it should actually sink. The reason it's floating is because of water tension. So the water tension, and I have another trick for the future to show you how water tension is so cool. But the water tension is what keeps the water molecules tight to one another and tries to resist breaking them apart. And so this paperclip is small enough that the weight it's exerting onto the water film on the very top is not strong enough, like the bigger one is heavier. So it actually pushes down with a bigger force of gravity, or bigger weight, than the small one. And therefore, the small one is now actually floating because the water, the surface tension of the water is strong enough to resist. Now, if we want to test this hypothesis, and remember in science, hypothesis is an explanation or an attempt to explain what we observe. So if we are correct that this is in fact a phenomena of surface tension resisting the paperclip and not density, if we change the surface tension of the water, we should be able to then make it drop. Does that sound familiar? Do you remember the ground pepper experiment we did a few weeks ago? We're going to do the same. So I have dish soap, and we're going to try it out. So I'm going to touch with dish soap on the tip of my finger, and the soap will then scatter across the surface of the water, breaking the surface tension of the water. And if we're correct, if in fact this is a surface tension phenomena and not a density phenomena, then the paper clip should sink. Are you ready? I'm going to count to 3. I'm going to put it on this side so I'm not obscuring the top view. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oop, did you see that? So as soon as I put my finger in, the soap from my finger started dispersing across the surface of the water until it broke enough surface tension, and that little paper clip sank to the bottom just as the big one, right? So that proves, or that strengthens the idea that we were correct, that in fact it is surface tension that keeps it floating, not the density, right? Okay. Now, why do we have more paper clips? I'm just going to move this. So now it's not going to float because we already ruined the surface tension here. But I will show you another attempt here. If you're having a hard time actually making your paper clip float, there are a few things you want to consider. So this is a bit of a troubleshooting. So first of all, it's actually easier to try and float sewing needles than it is to float paper clips, just because they are lighter. So I would recommend using needles, although they are prickly, so don't use them if you have kids that are too small. However, here are 2 tricks how to help you make it float nicer. If you are trying with your fingers the way I did it and it's not working, you can take another paper clip and bend it like so. So now you see how it's 90 degrees. So I have a resting pad here, and so I'm going to take my paper clip, the one that I'm trying to float, like so, and you see from the top and the side, and I'm going to very gently lower it, and that should make it easier to have it float compared with just using my fingers, because my fingers are so bulky. We can do pretty much the same trick with the sewing needle. So again, I'm putting a needle levitating on my resting pad. Oops, it fell and went straight to the bottom. Oops, where's the other one? I'm gonna put another one here, and a bit of patience, a bit of practice, and it should, oops, it sank to the bottom as well. Oh boy. Well, if at first you don't succeed, we definitely need to try and try again. Okay, now a reminder that if you are floating, it needs to be perfectly flat to make it work. If it's not flat, it will actually break the surface tension and not work. So let's try attempt number 3. There we go. So now I have a floating sewing needle and a floating paper clip. So just a few items to remember. If you're doing it once and you are using your dish soap to show how it falls to the bottom, make sure to dump the water with the soap. Wash the bowl again very well so there's no residue of soap before you do it again, because any residue of soap will immediately disturb the surface tension and will not make it work. So if you want to do it more than once, as soon as they sink because of the soap, you want to either use a completely new, clean, dry bowl, or use the same bowl but dump the water with the soap, wash it thoroughly, dry it, and then put another batch of new, fresh water, and it should work just as well. Okay, so this was experiment number 2 with a bit of fun with surface tension. Oh, and I almost forgot, there's another trick with the tissue paper. Again, if it's making it hard to sink, another way to try and make it work and put the paper clip is if you put a bit of tissue paper on the surface of the water and then let it float. and then very, very gently put your paper clip on top, and then it's resting on the tissue paper. And that's where you want to use a pencil with an eraser, and very, very gently you want to push down that tissue paper so it goes to the bottom, and very gently leave that paper clip floating. And you want to do it very gently, and you see now we have it again. See? So like I said, either use it straight with your finger and do it very carefully, make sure it's flat and touches gently on the water surface. You could either use a 90-degree bent resting paper clip, or you can use a tissue paper and rest it over a sunk tissue paper, and then push it slightly down with a pencil, and hopefully you'll get it to work. Again, take a video, show us your work in the comments or later on as a message, and we would love to see how you're doing and your successes on that. Okay, let me move these away. I don't need them now. And now we have one last activity. And for those of you who have joined us before, you probably already know that we always like to add a bit of arts and crafts whenever possible, because that's really part of the fun, is to let your artistic nature, your creative nature showcase what you can do. So what are we making today? So experiment number 3, and this is probably going to take a bit more time because we're going to make it and then color it and all that. So I have this colorful paper decorated. It is a flower, and I'm going to just show you what's going to happen. So let me show you the end result, and then we can make one together. So I have this nice little paper. It's colored in yellow on one side. It has other colors on the other side. And I'm using the same bowl of water. This one's without the soap. And look what happens when I put it in. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Isn't that cool? Do you see how the petals are opening up? And then as the water soaks in, well, 2 things are happening at the same time. So first of all, we have the water sipping in and opening the petals. And the second thing is, as it's soaking up the paper, you can actually see through the colors from below are becoming more and more vivid. And the longer you let it sit, the more vivid the colors will bleed through the paper from the other side, from below to the top. So this is really fun. Why is it opening? Well, the paper is made of fiber, mainly cellulose fiber, and paper is made by drying the cellulose fiber, right? So we take cellulose fiber that comes from trees, and we make a nice big paste of meshed up trees or recycled paper, and then we smear it to a thin layer and we dry it completely. And so all these fibers are now dry, and they have lots and lots of tiny air pockets, and these air pockets are useful for both capturing ink, but also they can capture water. And because of the surface tension of water, it creates something known as capillary forces, which is when water sips in through a tiny crevice, the surface tension pulls it further and further into a small tube, filling it completely. And so all these tiny little crevices of air inside the cellulose are being soaked up, and the fibers become swelling. They start to swell up with the water, and as they swell, they expand, and therefore the petals now are forced to open up. So we're going to make one of these together. Are you ready? I'm going to leave this here so we can still see it. Okay, so I'm going to have 2 versions. So I'm mindful that it's now already coming out to, what is it now, 11? Yeah, it's 11. So we've been doing this for 30 minutes now. So we have just under 20 minutes. So let's see how we're going to do this. So I'm gonna take a regular piece of paper. Now make sure it's a relatively thin paper, so we don't want the stiff cardstock because that's not gonna work very well. I don't need a full piece of paper. Well, depending how big you want it, just remember that the bigger it is, the bigger the bowl of water you would need, right? So I'm gonna use a half sheet. Let's use a half sheet of paper, okay? So I'm gonna fold it into half. So I took 1/2 of a sheet of paper and I fold it into half, and I'm gonna fold it again into half again, right? And now we have a nice X at the center, right? So it's divided into 4, but I actually want 8. So to get 8, I'm gonna fold in the opening. So this is the center, right? So remember where the center is. The center fold here, when we fold it, along the center, I'm gonna fold it as a triangle from one side here, and then flip it the other way and fold it there. Now you don't really have to make this in this fashion. This is only if you want to have it nice symmetric the way I have it, but if you're happy not having it that symmetric, that's okay as well. Now to make sure that the petals are roughly going to fold into the center, I'm just going to make sure that I have an equal length from the tip, from the folding center to the tip of the petal. So I'm just going to fold it up to the edge of where the paper is, right? So you can see here from the close-up, you can see this is the straight fold, and I just folded straight up like this. And so now I have a nice triangle, right? So now I have a nice triangle. This is the centerpiece. Again, where my finger is the centerpiece. And I'm just going to draw a petal. So what I have ultimately is I have the center fold, and the petal is going to be roughly the same size of the triangle that's hitting the center fold. And then if I cut along 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, see? And then we open it up, we get a perfectly symmetric flower like so. Now let me show you one more, but this time I'm just gonna do it a bit more rough. So to do it more rough, I'm just gonna make a circle. So here's a circle, and then I'm gonna make petals. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So this is doing it way more freestyle, and it will work just as well. So it doesn't have to be symmetric. If you like origami or kirigami, you like folding to get a perfectly symmetric shape, that's fine. If you really don't want to bother with this, or if you're doing this with smaller kids, again, it really doesn't matter. It will work equally well. And also note that the benefit of folding and then cutting is you saw that I only needed 2 cuts to get an 8 petals to my flower, whereas if I do it more simply just drawing and then cutting, I need to do more cutting. So either way, it's a compromise. Would you like to spend your time cutting or folding? And it's really just a question of personal preference. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay, great. So now let's see what we can do with this. Okay, so I have my trusted pens, my markers. Let's make one red. Okay, so here I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna make this one red. Okay, here's one, here's, oops, two, and I am mindful that because of the time, because we don't want to go past 11:15, that you probably are going to spend more time after we're done with coloring, right? So don't worry too much about the coloring. I'm just going to do it very quickly and show you how it's unfolding. But you can still do it yourself after at the comfort of your home at your own pace and color it any color you want. And do encourage you to spend time coloring it because that's really part of the fun. It's really way more lively when you can see all the coloring coming out like so. Okay, there we go. Okay, so here's one. So the way we want to do this is we want to show this, we want this to be impressive, and so we're going to color it on one side, but then we're going to flip it on the other side, and you can see that you can barely see the color through the paper because it's dry. But we're going to add some with a non-washable. So this is a permanent ink. We're going to add some highlights of patterns. So I'm going to add some features on this side with a non-washable marker. So you want to color it with washable markers, but you want to use the other side using non-washable markers with permanent markers to make features. And what will happen is, as you saw, when it's soaking up the water, it's going to sip through and the color will start bleeding through the top as well, and will just make a nicer effect. Another trick, another version of doing this is we can actually write a hidden message on the petals on this end, and as it opens up, it reveals a message. So imagine we're going to come up to, there's Mother's Day in Canada in a month from now. Wouldn't it be fun if we have Love You Mom or Happy Mother's Day on the petals and give it to Mom, and then she puts it in the water and it opens up. So let me write down a message. I'm not going to show you. Don't peek, okay? Don't peek. I'm just going to write down my secret message. Okay, and once we have the message, we're going to fold it. Ready? So I'm just going to fold these one over the other. Oops, there we go. Wait. Okay, so I folded all the petals, and on the underside, I have my secret message. So let's put it together on the, I'm going to put it back on the, oops. This is all colored now. That's okay. I'm going to put the other one on over it. Okay? So now I have my secret message written down, and I'm going to put the petals and see what happens. Ready? Let's see if you can see what I wrote down. So see how it's immediately opening up, and all the petals will open up. Depending on how hard you folded the creases, it will take longer or shorter. And you see the last one is taking time. Can you see what it says there? There is love, science. There we go. Here's my secret message. Isn't that cool? Now, if you want to up the game, you can even up the game even further. So there's so many variations you can try. So you can have the secret message variation. You can actually make a flower, and you can actually make a flower inside a flower. So I'm not going to show you exactly how it works because I think we're going to be running out of time. But let me just give you the gist of it. So this time, if the first time I tried with half a piece of paper, this time I'm using half the size. So this is 1/4 of a piece of paper. And I'm going to fold it again to 8 in a similar way. And I'm just going to very quickly make another 8-petal flower. There we go. And I'm going to cut it, and you can see that the more you make them, the faster you can get at it, right? So now I have 2 flowers. I have a large and a small flower. So here's what we can do now. We can actually make, here, I'm just going to color code it because it's going to be easier for you to see than white paper. But if I use my large petal, like so, and I'm going to use my small petals here. There we go. 1, 2. You know what? I actually think that if I just leave it at that without properly coloring it, I can show you another version and see how it opens up. Ready? Okay, so now we have two sizes of these petals, of these flowers. And like we did before, we're going to fold it invertly, right? But this time around, I'm going to start with the small one first, and I'm going to fold the petals to the center, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8. And once it's folded, I'm actually going to hide it at the center of the large flower, and I'm going to fold that in as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, let's move the love science secret message away and see what happens. What do you think is going to happen? So now I have 2 flowers, one inside of the other. I'm going to put it in the water and see what that looks like. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and let's see. So we see the outer flower is starting to unfold. Now, how fast this will go will depend on the specific type of paper you're using. The thinner the paper, the more likely it's going to soak up the water faster and will unfold much faster and will bleed through so you can see the colors from the top. Now I'm going to make it slightly faster because we are running a bit of time out of time, but there we go. I'm just going to soak up the whole thing. So again, if you leave it long enough, it will bleed through, and then you'll start seeing not just the top, but also the bottom would unfold as well. Here, I'm just going to put it this way. I think I folded it too hard. Oop. Okay. And so if you wait long enough, it bleeds through, it soaks up from the center, and you can start to see how these petals are also opening up. See? And then you can have a flower opening up inside another opening up flower. And you see this one is much slower now. Isn't that cool? So again, what are we seeing here? We're seeing the fibers, the cellulose fibers that make up the paper are dry, and as they start soaking up the water, they start swelling. And the reason they soak up water is called capillary forces, because of all the air channels, air bubbles, that as soon as water sips in, it gets pulled faster and faster. And as soon as it starts swelling, it will push the fold to open up in the way we're seeing right now. And you can either put a secret message and give it someone you love and give them to put it in water to open up, or you can just watch it and bring up the colors into life. So I think with that, we can wrap up because it has been 45 minutes coming up right now. So I hope you enjoyed these experiments. Remember, we did 3 experiments today. The first one, we had the cards with the coins, and I flicked the card away and the coins went straight through to the glass because of lack of friction when the card moves too fast. And with the laws of motion, we know that with no friction, the coin stays levitating in air for a split second before the card is completely out of the way, and then it just falls in. And the same trick as the magic removal of the tablecloth that magicians like to do to make it really impressive. The second one was floating a paperclip in water using surface tension forces, not density. It's not that the density is lower than water that makes it float, it's the surface tension. And we tested that hypothesis by adding a little bit of dish soap, and we saw that indeed when we add dish soap, it breaks the surface tension and the paperclip falls down to the bottom. So that strengthens our idea that this is indeed a surface tension phenomena. And the third one was swelling of water, swelling of paper with soaking up water and then opening up like a flowering, which is really perfect timing for the spring. I hope it's springtime for you where you are, and if not, it will be soon coming, I hope. I hope you enjoyed this session again. Again, my name is Dr. Lon Eisenstein. I'm with Pueblo Science. We're based in Toronto, Canada. If you liked what we're doing, please like our page, like, I don't know, up here, down there, wherever you find that like button, you can follow us and find us every week at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. If you support our charitable work, you can express that by pushing the donate button and helping us reach more children and teachers across the world. And I hope to see you again next week. Bye for now. And don't forget to share your pictures and videos of your amazing craftsmanship of the flowers and the paperclip and all that. Love you all. See you next week.